What's up, guys? Welcome back to WCS America, the Challenger League, the league just below the Premier League, where the players are trying to get there, trying to get to Premier League. Some call it the Tier 2 league of course, WCS. Of course, I'm axeltoss, joined by axslav. We just saw Jim pretty much dismantle Vibe, showing just how strong he is. But, you know, I always kind of wonder, what if Jim had just played straight up, or excuse me, what if Vibe had just tried to, you know, play straight up, you know, just from the beginning?
Would have been a very, very different series, that's for sure. Of course, the match we're on right now is going to be Goswser versus Capoch. And both of these guys have fallen down from this season's Premier League, so both of them are fighting to get back into it for next season. Of course, Goswser, one of the most up-and-coming players of the American scene, has been really doing very well since the Heart of the Swarm release.
If you follow the American scene, you're going to know this guy's name. He came from pretty much nowhere. It's one of those stories where it's one of those guys who just laddered a bunch, started playing in online tournaments, eventually got an invitation to a Complexity Academy, then got an invitation to the actual team after demolishing a bunch of really good players. Of course, you know, we see there MMA, Genius, MVP. He just had ridiculous wins. And in a time where the Koreans weren't really losing to the non-Koreans. And then, of course, he made the transition from Complexity to Millennium. And I had a chance to talk to him a little bit before this match. And I said, Goswser, do you have any thoughts on your match going on today? He told me, Capoch isn't a good player. He will all-in me twice, and I will defend them both, and I will win.
Very confident, confident words from Goswser, of course. His opponent, Capoch, known for a very aggressive play. The top player from Argentina has pretty much been playing strategy games for his whole life. And he's one of the older guys in pro gaming at 26. And he's played a lot of different games professionally, very active in the GM ladder of the Americas as well. Very, very strong player from South America and known for aggression, as Goswser has said. Of course, the first map is going to be Cloud Kingdom. Are the players ready?
I'm asking right now, and yeah, Capoch is a guy, you know, there's not a ridiculous amount of representation in the South American scene, so, you know, I feel like perhaps a lot of South Americans are tuning in right now. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Did I do that right?
Yes.
Yes! Okay, so Capoch is going to try to represent Argentina here and take the win. Of course, he was fourth in his Premier League group involving Crank, Sen, and Huck. He defeated Tilia to get to this point. Of course, the players are ready.
Let's do it.
I just hit the start game button. By the way, guys, get on Twitter, hashtag WCS, and if it's an awesome tweet, it'll be shown on the stream, which is always fun, seeing your name on stream. And of course, get on Team Liquid, get on Reddit, join the conversation, and talk about these matches. Talk about WCS America. Again, this is the Challenger League, where we're watching up-and-coming players. We're watching players who were Premier League in the first season, you know, try to make it back, and we're seeing guys who qualified for the Challenger League trying to get into Premier League for the first time. But here we are in game number 1 of this best of 3 from the second round of the Challenger League bracket stage in the bottom left-hand location of Cloud Kingdom. I present your blue Protoss player, hailing from Argentina, representing team Isurus Gaming. He is Capoch. Of course, his opponent in the top right-hand location, the American Zerg player who made a name for himself, beating Koreans left and right when it wasn't necessarily a thing. Trying to get into Premier League, back into Premier League after being knocked out by Polt and Revival. He is Goswser.
That group that Goswser got knocked out of, he actually beat Revival in the first match.
He's in the winner's match.
And then he went up against Polt, lost to Polt. Revival, of course, then knocked out Idra to come in that deciding match, a revenge match against Goswser. And in that final match, Goswser did lose to Revival, sending him down to the Challenger division. And he's got to be thinking, you know, I was so close to making a top 16 in the Premier Division. I really need to get back in the Premier Division so next season I can show everyone the form that I was in when I was knocking out MMA, MVP, and all those world-class players in the Iron Squid tournament near the end of 2012.
He's obviously good enough. One of those American players that definitely has a chance. Of course, I think he's been spending some time in France. I'm not sure exactly where he's playing from right now, but again, he is on Team Millennium. So again, Goswser, one of those American hopes, a lot of people like to say. Of course, the winner of this match, it's important to note, will go on to play Nestea. So You know, that's always fun to look forward to. But we have a pylon block here by Capoch at his opponent's natural expansion, opening up with what looks like to be a forge fast expand. Fairly standard play thus far, of course. You know, Protoss players loving to block that natural, just to delay that hatchery as much as possible. Perhaps force the Zerg player to make a wonky move, like take a hatchery somewhere else, like we saw in the Daybreak game between Vibe and Jim.
One thing you notice is, of course, Capoch is getting that forge before the Nexus. Often a Protoss player gets a Nexus first, but if they build the pylon and allow it to finish at the Zerg natural, that'll slow down their build enough that it's much safer to get that forge before Nexus, just in case the Zerg sends their first Zerglings straight to your base. You want to have that cannon up and ready in time.
Probe trying to be a little bit annoying here at the natural, trying to take down some drones. The pylon will get taken out. The drone does stay alive. He's going to return back to his mineral line. The probe getting taken out, trying to put down a pylon, but should be canceling that. Yep, there it is. Not sure how worth it that was. Just trying to delay that hatchery as much as possible. But he lost that probe, so you can be like, all right, you know, I don't know if that was really worth it. But Capoch just trying to mess with Goswser's mind a little bit, trying to mess with his build, perhaps.
Goswser is getting an extractor before his third hatchery, so this really shows he intends to get some tech on the field, not play the 3-hatch gasless Zerg openings that we've seen from a lot of Zergs in the past. And this is an indication that he wants to get tech out to control the map early. If you control the map early, it makes it much harder for your opponent to do anything very aggressive early on, which is Capoch's forte. So if you can get those speedings out, maybe even do a 2-base lair tech, get the tempo in his hands, it'll put Capoch a little bit off guard.
Of course, you know, Goswser did spot the forge fast expand from your opponent. When you kind of see this, you can delay speed. You can definitely do that. You can take your third hatchery, but again, as you said, Goswser going for the faster gas, going for the faster speed, which is kind of a safe move. It's a safe move against Capoch. He doesn't want to be taken off guard by anything, wants that map control, wants to be able to spot those pylons, those probes going across the map, and of course, being able to identify exactly what your opponent is doing. But we see here a little bit more than 100 gas being mined, and speed has not yet been started.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him go lair before speed, knowing that he doesn't need... Oh, there it goes. There goes the speed right now. Also, he's been able to keep tabs on any probe leaving Capoch's base. So these Zerglings, of course, are chasing that probe. The probe is still worth it. It's going to recognize the fact there's no third base from Goswser, which is going to tell Capoch, okay, he's doing some type of tech-based play.
Probe going to be retreating back. Of course, you know, tech-based, it can mean a lot of things, right? You don't necessarily know, okay, is my opponent going for a fast speed? Is he going for a fast lair? Are we seeing a bunch of roaches going to pop out any second and come after me? But these lings are going to have speed kicked in about, not too far, about 60 seconds it looks like. So if he can identify that, he can know exactly what's going on. But again, Goswser sticking with the guys on gas, putting down 2 evolution chambers. So it looks like he's going to go for the very quick 1-1 upgrades for Zerglings.
That's right. Of course, this type of build is generally turned into an ultraless rush. It can deviate, but the idea is you take map control speedings, you upgrade them heavily, and you focus on tech. And then it's okay to not have that third base, not have that huge economy, if you have a very high quality in all your units due to these very fast evolution chambers getting those upgrades for your Zerglings.
This Stalker might be in a little bit of trouble here. Of course, you know, speed is about to kick in. If you still have a Stalker on the field and speed is done, you know, the Stalker is probably going to die, provided there are at least like 6 or so lings on the field. But that being said, Goswser only has 0 lings on the field, so the Stalker might be able to get out alive. But there we see 10 lings in production. The Stalker trying to take down a drone, but the drone turning itself into an extractor. And keep in mind, behind this is Stargate going down. We'll have to see if Goswser can identify this Stargate. It looks like he has a couple Overlords outside of his opponent's main base and natural expansion, so look out for Goswser to send those in so we can find out exactly what's going on.
Third hatchery will go in a momentarily for Goswser now that Stalker has left. Of course, if the Stalker didn't leave, these speedings would have taken out. Stalker is heading back into the natural of Goswser, trying to get more scouting done and actually delaying the creep as much as it can as well. Of course, it will pay for this with its life.
Yep, goodbye, Mr. Stalker, down on the ramp. Phoenix going to be revealed here. Going to start taking down Overlords, so Goswser are going to be able to put down the Spore Crawlers in due time. We have a Baneling Nest on the field as well, so might not be the fast Ultra play. He might try to do some sort of timing, perhaps with Baneling Speed. This is a little bit peculiar to see this Baneling Nest.
I feel like this might be Baneling drops. With how fast his upgrades are, once a Zerg gets level 2 melee attack, Banelings can then one-hit probes, so you could try to use some drop play with those. Of course, with the Phoenixes here, they're not going to really be able to get any Overlords easily to the Protoss bases. He's getting an Infestation Pit as well, so maybe the Baneling Nest is like a safety measure. Sure. Okay, if he's moving out to attack me, I can morph a lot of Banelings and defend that way. I'm not sure if he intends to use it in the near future unless Capoch shows aggression.
Of course, the purpose of that infestation pit is to get that hive as fast as possible so you can get those ultras out again. An ultralisk rush by every sense of the definition. Phoenix is trying to get some damage done across the map here, picking up a couple drones, picking up a queen as well, going to try to take that guy out, of course. It takes more than 3 Phoenixes. Yeah, you're going to have to pick him up twice, but it looks like that queen is going to live.
Yeah, he could have picked that up and his friend.
He's a hive, though, which is actually pretty huge. When you see a hive at this point in the game, it means only one thing, Mr. axslav.
It means that Ultralisk Rush, of course, seeing the lack of the 5th and 6th gas, he's got to be breathing easy, knowing there's not enough gas to fake a hive and really do some muta switch, given that Zerg is only on 4 gases.
Right.
The question is, how is Capoch going to deal with this?
Exactly.
He kind of needs that 3rd base to get enough gas to really have, you want Archons and Immortals and a couple Colossi, ideally. He's got 1 robotics production right now. It's very hard to afford double robotics off of just 2 bases. So he's either going to want to hit a timing. In fact, 3 more gateways being built, no probes in production. It looks like he's going to try to hit a 2-base timing right before the Ultras come out.
This can be a great move, of course. Generally, once you start getting that damage done, the Ultras start popping out, you're going to want to recall out. So the survivability of that Militia Core is going to be very important. Or I guess you can try to kill your opponent before the Ultras come out, but again, that can be a very dangerous aspect. But look at these Phoenixes, still doing a lot of damage on Goswser's side of the map. Now, Goswser's are going to have to keep a watchful eye over the 3rd base, because he's good enough to know, okay, the 3rd isn't up yet, something is going on, and that's when we're going to start seeing him trying to figure out what's going on. But again, with the Phoenixes, means that Capoch has that air map control. He can deny overloads from scouting, which could make this a potentially dangerous situation here for Goswser.
Of course, on the other hand, the amount of gas invested in this airplay from Capoch means that his 2-base timing is a little bit later. The Ultras Academy is already halfway done. I think Goswser, with the spines he's building to the 3rd base to help buy time, if he can defend enough to get 4 to 5 Ultras out, he should be able to squash this army without a problem.
6 Overlords in production there to make room for the Ultras. Plenty of minerals, plenty of gas. Taking down the probe and getting the pylon. Again, every second you can delay an all-in like this, you're going to be a very happy camper indeed. Again, it buys you more time because your opponent has to send another probe to put another reinforcement pylon down. Of course, some Protoss players will use a War Prism, but Capoch extending forward here. We have 6 Ultras in production. Goswser trying to delay this as long as possible. Wants those Ultras out on the field, and Capoch going to start maneuvering towards the natural.
Capoch trying to clear up the creep, so if he needs to kite back, it takes a little bit longer for the Zerg forces to overwhelm and surround him. Saw the spines at the 3rd, says, you know what, I don't want any part of that, let's hit the natural instead. But the Ultras are 80% of the way complete into production. I don't know if he can beat it with only 1 Immortal, a very Zealot-heavy composition. Ultras absolutely destroy Zealots in Heart of the Swarm.
There's only 1 or 2 Immortals in this composition. Here come the Ultras out of those tiny little eggs, always hysterical to see. And now Goswser coming forward with a force of units. Again, these units all have 2-2, the Lings and Ultras swiping and sweeping away the Zealots. And now Capoch is going to be on the run. No Mothership Core here. Again, he's so all in, he's not even bringing that to potentially recall out because you know how invested he is into this attack, and Goswser looks like he's going to hold it off.
Even with the choke, Goswser doesn't care. 2 Ultras at a time, no problem. The Protoss units get crushed. Goswser is at twice his opponent's supply, 3 bases with a massive economy, at least relative to his opponent, who just lost all of his tech units, all those Colossi, the Immortals, and even the massive Zealots that were trying to protect him all went down.
Gosh, such a tough position here for Capoch. Of course, you don't want to GG out at this point. You want to try to get back into the game, but I don't know how possible that is, considering all of these Ultras, all of these Zerglings trying to charge into that natural expansion of Capoch's Colossus, doing a lot of damage to the Lings, but now the door is broken. The Ultras charging in here, taking down, or trying to take down that Immortal. Colossus on the high ground, trying to be annoying, but I think Goswser's got this.
Zerg is just spilling in. Even if Capoch can somehow stabilize his natural, he's up against a Zerg going into 5 bases. The probes at a natural are our victim. Going straight for robotics, Goswser knows that the Immortals are the threat, taking out the ability to produce those, as well as a Cybernetics core. Capoch can only really make Zealots at this point. He does have another robotics in the main, but his natural has to be evacuated. The Queens have even crossed the map to join in the fray.
Yeah, a really tough situation here for Capoch. Went for that 2-base all-in, but Goswser able to get those Ultras out in the nick of time, and that's what spelled victory for him. Of course, you know, the Phoenixes did do a bit of damage, but I love your point, and there's the GG from Capoch. Goswser taking game number 1, but I love your point about how much he invested into those Phoenixes. Do you think he should have stocked maybe 2 or 3 less? I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
You know, right when this Ultras Rush build came about and Zerg players really started using this, a couple of Protoss players tried to hit these 2 base timings, and I've never yet seen a Protoss use airplay and get Colossi out in time to hit a timing before the Ultras even get out. Because even if you can kill a base, the Zerg can actually sacrifice one of their bases. And they can play 2 base at 2 base because they know they've got 2/2 upgrades. The Protoss is at 1/1 at best. And then as soon as they crush this army, they can double expand. So it's just, I don't think you can get a Stargate and hit a Colossi timing off 2 bases before Ultras can really get on the field. And Capoch figured it out the hard way. His forces saw the Ultras, tried to run, but there's no retreat, man. Even one coming around in the back to get into action. Some
hero units like that Viking in the Heart of the Storm trailer. Nothing going to stop those Ultras at this point in time. So, you know, Goswser with the great build there. Of course, that's a fun build to try out on the ladder. Zerg players at home, instead of getting that fast third hatch, stay on 2 bases. Don't stop mining gas after getting the initial 100 for the metabolic boost. Get 2 Evo chambers. Of course, go up to that layer, rush to Infestation Pit, rush to Hive, get those Ultras out as fast as possible because more Ultras means more fun. Goswser definitely believing that. Taking game number 1 over Capoch, but Capoch isn't out of it just yet. This is a best of 3, so Capoch must win 2 in a row. Guys, Capoch versus Goswser, game 2 of this round 2 Challenger League bracket stage coming up.